And going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." And so they went. Going out again about the sixth hour and the ninth hour, he did the same. There's work to be done, and he keeps coming back. People standing around idle, he says, "Go, you too go." It's not a neat little community of disciples with the early birds who he got in the morning and sent out to do the work and are kind of eager beavers there doing all that. No, somebody's standing idle, you go too. The Lord is very gracious, calling people at different times and different places. And his plans are not our plans, and his way is not the way we kind of try to see as we try to master what God's will is. Going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. To them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." He promises them what he promised the early birds. He'll give them what is right, what is just. And he will. But he's not picky about an elite group of workers. He sees someone standing around, he says, "Oh, you go too." This is why I do like that great symbol of St. Peter's in Rome. It's not an elite little church, just a big barn of a church with arms reaching out. That's the way of the Master. And it always has to be our way too, to recognize that. Especially if we happen to be the ones who showed up early and got to work from the start. And we can begin to have a bit of the spirit of the older brother of the prodigal son. And we got to watch that. Going in about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. I don't think the people in the first hour were idle. They were hardworking, organized types. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." And so they went. Going out again about the sixth hour and the ninth hour, he did the same. He's on the prowl, looking for people to send out into the vineyard, to give mission and meaning. As Francis Thompson says, he's like the hound of heaven, with unperturbed pace, majestic instancy, tracing down people and reaching out to them, so that they don't lose their lives in that idleness, but they find the call of the Lord to call them, the mission of the Lord to send them, whatever hour it is, whoever they are, wherever they are. Our God is not a picky God. It's important for us always to remember that. His mercy is great. Going about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went. And they do go, like the two brothers. The one who said, "I'll go," but didn't go, and the one that said, "I won't go," but went. These ones went. Going out again about the sixth hour and the ninth hour, he did the same. Let's just reflect a bit and pray to the Lord to help us to stretch our sense of our Christian responsibility. We're called to be dutiful people, faithful and true, getting up early to serve the Lord and doing all that. But we can't get narrow. We got to realize that the Lord is there, here and there, going beyond the little world that we can map out, calling others, people we would not expect, at different times and in different ways. And we need to have that breadth, that sense of fullness in our living of the Christian life. And sometimes we can miss that and be a little too inwardly focused on our own particular mission and how well we're doing it. So let's ask the Lord's mercy for the times we get focused too much on our own mission. And let's ask the Lord's help to look around and celebrate the many gifts that others have, the many calls that others have, and the many missions that others have to serve the Lord just as well as we do in the vineyard. At about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing, and he said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You go into the vineyard too." This is a famous quote always used in vocation prayers. Why do you stand here all the day idle? Go into the vineyard. But it's true, the 11th hour, the famous 11th hour, near the end of the day, and here they've been all the day idle. Now, we're not supposed to look too closely at any parable, because you might wonder, didn't they notice the master going around earlier? But that's okay. You've got to fuzz some of the parables a bit, because we lose the point if we don't do that. But there he is. There's some that have been there. He missed them. They've been there 11 hours, the 11th hour, standing around. They're probably, at the end of that day, they say, no one has hired us. So he says to them, "You go into the vineyard too." Here we see the ones who are there, the last, the ones who have not been working at all during the day. But he wants everyone to have a call, to have a mission. He's reaching out for everyone, not just for the few, not just for those in the middle of the day, but he reaches out for all. He says, "You too go." The breadth of the Lord's mercy is wider than the sea. And we're all grateful for that, because we can ask ourselves, who am I in this parable? Am I one of those early birds eager to go? Am I one of the middle ones at the 3rd or the 6th hour, or the 9th hour? Or am I perhaps one of the 11th hour types? I think we can all tend to imagine ourselves to be the early ones and wonder what the master's going to do with all the other ones. They always say that if we get to heaven, we might be surprised at the people we find there. You know, there we are. How did you get there? How did you get there? You know, it's a thing we can sort of say, well, we can all be kind of figuring out, well, I've been here a little bit longer, you know. So it's all that kind of stuff that the Lord wants to just blow away with the reversal, the great power of the Lord to say, you know, all your little measurements of where you stand, and when we get checking the dials of the spiritual life, seeing how my prayer is going and what my spiritual life is and all this kind of stuff, we get a little too, pedantic and fanatic, the unexamined life is not worth living. The unlived life is not worth examining, and the over-examined life is hell. You got to just let go. And our Lord calls these 11th hour people and says, "You go too. I'm not picky. You go too." So let's just thank the Lord for his graciousness, the breadth of his mercy.